Good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Busy day on tap. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Coming up this morning, Jonathan Mayo, of course, MLB.com, MLB Network, MLB Pipeline. New top 100 prospects update, new prospects lists per organization, and he's got a new book out. It's called Smart, Wrong, and Lucky. I've read the Joey Votto chapter so far. We'll talk to him about that. Also this morning, Chuck Pagano, former Ravens defensive coordinator and Colts head coach. We will get his thoughts on where the Ravens find themselves defensively. Could they just be swinging the pendulum a little bit towards the offense? Confirmed that the Ravens will visit with Ronald Darby, who, as we talked about yesterday, was probably the best of what's left. Which I want to make it very clear. Yes, but because they have to. Not because I have some extraordinary expectation for Ronald Darby, because you're desperate, because you're starving, and when you're starving, a mushroom olive tapenade sounds pretty good. Otherwise, I don't care for either of those things. Two foods that I just don't eat as an adult.
Mushrooms?
Mushrooms and olives.
Won't touch them?
I mean, it's not like if somebody were to go somewhere, like when you're dating someone and you go to see their family and you eat it.
They made mushrooms.
Like now you're at a place where like everybody understands. I've been married to my wife for, I don't know, 1 million years, something like that. So like now I'm not going to go visit my wife's family and think that they're likely to make chicken marsala because they like know that I just don't care for mushrooms. But like I did when we were dating, if like we went somewhere and someone made something, I was just going to eat it. That's the way that in fact, that's why for a little while in my life I'd stopped eating red meat. That's a straight shoot.
Really?
For a bit in my life I was not eating red meat at all. And what got me to eat red meat again was dating my now wife. Like I would just go somewhere and we'd be like, well, they're grilling burgers. All right, I'll have a burger. You know what I mean? Like that was just the way that it went. So yeah, I just don't care for mushrooms. Like again, it's not a like religious thing. Like, oh God, if I touch that, I'm going to die. I just don't care for them. I don't care for mushrooms. I don't care for olives, and everything else that I still don't care for liver either. That's not. So I got three things that I don't care for.
I guess that's fair.
Like,
I don't like olives either.
Everything else that as a child I didn't enjoy, like I finally came around on. I'm worried that one day I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to like liver. Like, I'm just going to decide that day that I like liver. But it's never happened for me. Every now and then I'll go back and try a mushroom. I'm like, nope, still don't like it. Or I'll, I don't even like mufaladas, and I love New Orleans.
Mushrooms.
No, that's not it. I've had all kinds of mushrooms. They just don't do anything for me. There's no flavor. There's no texture. It's just gross. They offer nothing to society.
Salted mushrooms, not bad.
No, they just offer nothing to society. And that's fine. It's what it is. The point being, sure, go ahead with Ronald Darby. But again, not because it's the situation you want to be in. It's the situation that you're in. That's the reality. Chuck Pagano will talk to us about that. Navy football coach Brian Newberry, they're getting ready to head out to Dublin for a Week 0 matchup with Notre Dame. We got to decide a picks punishment here in the next week.
Glenn has to eat mushrooms.
No, 1 week. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work for everybody. You're like, I love mushrooms. Get out of here. 1 week from today, we will make our first picks of the season because Navy.
Personalized punishments.
Would you chill?
Okay.
You're getting all.
Glenn has to eat olives and mushrooms.
We figure out what everyone hates.
Yeah.
And just everybody's got their own. Next Saturday, Navy Notre Dame from Dublin. We'll talk to Brian Newberry about that, and we'll wrap up the show with a trip to Bowie to chat with Keagan Gillies of the Baysox. So that's all coming up on the program today. Right. Yes, we will do that. There is a fight this weekend, in fact. Today's show is brought to you by Superbook. Keep trying to tell you. Don't know what you're waiting for. Superbook.com or download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23. Sorry, don't use GlennClark22. That will get you nothing. GlennClark23, however, will help you out greatly because it will get you a first bet match up to $250. I keep trying to tell you, go pick something that's a sure thing. Whatever it is. I don't even know what the other Week 0 college football matchups are. You know what? Let's have some fun here, right? Let's just, for funsies, right? It's just us. It's just us gals, right? It's just us ladies. Let's go ahead and look up some odds for Week 0.
Let's see.
Hang on. No, chill.
What?
I'm looking up. I'm on superbook.com. Now let's go to college football.
Ooh.
And
sure thing. I got a sure thing for sure.
Oh, the money lines aren't out yet. Sorry. Unfortunately, only the spreads. Because I was going to say, just take somebody.
USC's playing San Jose State.
That seems like that would qualify.
Yeah.
I don't know what that one's doesn't even have a spread yet. I don't know why that one's.
-30.
Are you on Superbook?
Yeah,
no,
that's sorry. I'm not using
Griffin.
Yeah.
Go nowhere besides Superbook
I
any
understand,
longer.
I understand.
All right.
I see my error.
It's the only thing that we care about now is Superbook. Got it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Superbook. Nothing else. The biggest spreads for Week 0. That's Week 1, Arkansas State, Oklahoma. The biggest spreads for Week 0 are, well, unfortunately, Navy Notre Dame's the biggest spread. Hawaii Vanderbilt, which seems odd. Vanderbilt's not good either, but I get it. Hawaii's kind of a disaster at the moment. There's the one. Kent State, Central Florida. UCF is a 5-touchdown favorite against Kent State. Now, I'm not telling you to bet that, but if you want to, you can. What I'm saying is wait, find out what the money line is, and put in a $250 bet on the money line. It might only win you a couple of bucks. It might be a $3 win. But the point is, you're also going to get out of it $250 worth of free bets. Now, I get it. If you're a gambler, you say, Glenn, this is stupid. This isn't about being a gambler. It's about, in a way, playing your odds. It's about how do I go about coming away with $250 worth of free bets. And you can do that. That's totally fine. Superbook.com. First bet match up to $250 if you use the code. And that's win or lose if you use the code GlennClark23. Again, that's GlennClark23. Hope you didn't use that bet on the Orioles last night. An unpleasant evening. I'm in a weird spot. Because as much as we've talked about the pitching and do the Orioles have the pitching to hold up and can they get enough innings out of this, of late it has felt more like the issue has been the other side of the ball, which has been the offense. Dean Kramer was not brilliant last night, but ultimately gave you a quality start and an opportunity to win. And while I get it, you were facing Blake Snell, this has been kind of prolonged for the Orioles now offensively. The Orioles have not scored 5 runs in a game since last Thursday against the Astros. On this road swing, 0 for 6, scoring 5 runs in a game. Now, I get it. That's 6 games. That's not the end of the world. It's not a massive sample size. And I also understand that they face good pitching. However it worked out, it seemed like they were facing all of the best pitchers. So I'm not panicked about it. I'm not, and they've somehow managed to go 3-3 during that stretch. There's nothing here to panic about. The Rays did get back within 2 games of them, however, because the Rays won yesterday. But you do file away this sort of feeling of, is this a young team that's not used to playing this many games that matter, big situations, major league pitchers adjusting to what they've seen from this young team, and at some point, do they hit a little bit of a wall? Last night on 105.7 The Fan, we were having this conversation, and it was a reminder that while we all know it's unreasonable to talk about the Orioles as like a World Series favorite or even a likely World Series winner, we're also filing away, but hey, they're there, so why not go ahead and try to do it? But the reality is not only because we don't feel the former just because there are other good baseball teams. Part of the reason why we feel the former is because it doesn't happen this way. Teams don't just break through and win the World Series. Even the past rebuilding efforts that we believe the Orioles were attempting to mimic, those teams, the Astros, had to go and lose in the playoffs and get a little battle-tested and get a little more long season experience and push their innings up from their pitching and have before they were able to turn around and go take the next step and ultimately win a World Series. The Cubs the same way. There's a reason this is unlikely. Now, I don't know if that's what's going on right now, or again, it just so happens to be a group of 6 games, all out on the West Coast. The West Coast thing is always weird for East Coast teams. Most of these games have been at night. I think the only one that was the afternoon game was the Sunday game. I mean, last night was not as late, obviously. It was 8:40 Eastern time, and by this point, you'd like to think that you'd be adjusted to Pacific time if you were, out there for a week. It might just be circumstantial that this is the week. And again, the pitching's been really good. They faced a lot of good pitchers during the course of this week. I'm trying to remember who all of them were. It was Snell, obviously. Kirby, it was brilliant.
Right.
Darvish, of course, was the one that I say got to, but, they scored 4 runs. It's not like they...
Waka was great last night.
Waka was tremendous the night before, obviously. I don't even remember who the other 2 starters were in Seattle because my brain does not file away those things, unfortunately, the same way as they used to. But they've all been good starters. Like, they've all... Bryce Miller was the Sunday starter, right? And then who was the Friday starter last weekend?
Why can't I remember?
And it was a game that you bailed on because the Orioles were getting drubbed pretty early, and it just didn't seem worth it. Was it Castillo was the starter last Friday?
It was Luis Castillo. Good job.
These are all pretty good pitchers. Like, let's be fair. Nothing worth getting worked up about in context. And if the Orioles go this weekend to Oakland and do what they should do for 3 games in Oakland and score a bunch of runs and batter the Athletics and win, like this is the awkward part for them going into this weekend series. Even 1 loss would be disappointing because the Athletics are just a team you've got to pummel.
Right.
You only get so many opportunities to just pummel teams, to have the schedule ease up slightly. You just need to go pummel the Athletics and make sure that you, at worst, don't lose any ground and try to gain a game or so back this weekend because you get a serious break in your schedule. If they go do that over the course of these 3 days, if they go score, 14 runs, 5, and 4, or more over 3 games, then we're not going to have any of these concerns anymore. They'll come back to Baltimore, and we'll feel good again about the offense. Obviously, there are more significant culprits. Until last night, Adley Rutschman had really struggled on this road trip. Is the burden of being a catcher that's also a leadoff hitter and offensive force for a team, is that catching up with Adley Rutschman late in the season a little bit? Anthony Santander post-All-Star break has not been very good. I'll pull up the splits. I saw somebody, I think it was our buddy Paul Valley, in fact, who
Paul
shared it.
He was putting out Austin Hayes as well.
Well, Austin Hayes, that one's been, I think, more pronounced. Austin Hayes has been an obvious problem. And again, this goes back to the unfortunate part where this is now back-to-back seasons where Austin Hayes has been this guy, and at some point, does it factor into your long-term plans with Austin Hayes? Do you say to yourself, He's
batting 175.
Who? Santander. 175 since the All-Star break. I mean, again, the month leading up to the All-Star break, Anthony Santander was arguably your best player. Ryan Mountcastle can't carry this team alone. They've got problems offensively. They are not getting complete seasons from much of anyone. I mean, there's no one offensively who has been really good from day one to now. And I get it. That's baseball, right? There's very few places where you're going to find guys that are as good from day one till late in the season. There are ups and downs, ebbs and flows. I understand all of those things. But unfortunately, right now, they're in a spot where there's only like one guy that's hot. And everybody else has been kind of meh. And, could you try to inject some young player into this thing? It's not going to be Jackson Holliday. God bless you guys. It ain't going to be Jackson Holliday.
Who's saying Jackson Holliday?
Of course, it comes up constantly that Jackson Holliday is murdering the baseball at Double-A. It's insane what Jackson Holliday is doing. And, of course, Manny Machado got called right up from Double-A to the major leagues in the midst of a playoff race in 2012, in August of a playoff race in 2012.
I guess
It's not unprecedented, the concept, but I just don't see it in any way.
ease him in, start against the Athletics.
I don't see it being Heston Kjerstad. And part of the reason why I don't see it being those guys is because of the examples of the guys that came before them. That the burden of expectation to come in and immediately provide that injection. Somebody would point out, Gunnar Henderson was pretty good when he got called up last year, but Jordan Westburg struggled when he came up. Colton Cowser obviously struggled when he came up. Typically, it takes guys a little while to adjust to major league pitching. So I don't think the offensive injection comes internally. I think it's going to have to just be that some of this group of guys that's been scuffling of late, they got to find it. I'm not panicked about it. I think there are enough guys that have had ups and downs and ebbs and flows that I can assume that they're not all just going to fall apart between now and the end of the regular season. But they're going to have to prove that, right? Like, that's the burden, is they have to prove that they are capable of withstanding offensively until this thing is over. And all of these are factors that go into long-term decisions that this club is going to have to make about players. The guys, Luke Jackson and I were having a conversation about this group of guys before, and we were kind of labeling them the survivors, right? Like the guys that came from the previous era of the previous regime, the Orioles have to make decisions about, because those guys you start getting closer to. Who's really a part of it, who's not. Well, during the course of the season, any one of those guys, whether it's Mountcastle or Santander or Hayes or Mullins, any one of them, we've said to ourselves, well, that guy's worthy of sticking around for a while. But at the end of the season, the Orioles will have to make some of those decisions and start thinking about who is a trade chip, what their core is, what their nucleus is. And if they're hell-bent on Colton Cowser, for example, being an everyday player next season, then someone won't be. And, again, at the moment, it's a tough look for Austin Hayes because it's back-to-back years where you're great for the first half of the season. And then something happens. And I don't know that means that Austin Hayes can't fix that or figure it out, but I think there's a bit of a spotlight on him the rest of the way, because if we get to the end of the season, and that's the story for him in back-to-back years, is he wasn't remotely the same player offensively in the second half of the year as he was the first year, then I think it weighs on you as you remember that you want Colton Cowser to be an everyday player next season. And I don't know what Austin Hayes' value would be on a trade market, because the other teams also have access to the internet. They can click on that splits tab the same way that Griffin and I are capable of clicking on the splits tab. But you might at least have to find out. And again, it might be that there's a team that's on another end that says, let's take it as a project and see what happens there. Day off today. Series in Oakland that starts tomorrow. Pitching not nearly as good that you'll be facing in Oakland this weekend. Great time to get the bats going, to wake up a little bit, to forget that this dip ever occurred. You hope that proves to be the case. Orioles have also lost 2 out of their last 3 series. That's not something they've done a lot this season. That's a bummer. No way of getting around it. Got to change it. Athletics have not announced who their pitchers are for the weekend. It'll be Gibson, Irvin, and Bradish for the Orioles for the 3 in Oakland. And then they'll have the day off on Monday. All right, today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Don't turn my mic off. I'm the guy that's doing the talking. Very awkward. Today's show is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Did not even bring up Fujinami during that conversation. Saw a lot of people talking about that Fujinami can no longer be a leverage guy. I mean, I hear you, but who are you confident in as a leverage guy? Like, that's kind of the reality of the situation. I don't. They don't. If they had more leverage guys, then they'd be in a better position to say this guy can't be a leverage guy. We thought that maybe CNL Perez was moving back into the regular, ready to be a leverage guy, and then CNL Perez proceeded to throw a ball away and fall asleep while watching someone stealing home plate.
That was not.
I mean, it was one of the worst moments. I get it. There haven't been a lot of bad moments this season. It's arguably the worst moment of the season. I don't even know what the competition would be. What else would be the worst moment of the season?
I mean, there's
I guess the Grand Slam against Houston, right?
Yeah.
The Kyle Tucker Grand Slam.
Any of Bautista's blown saves.
But he's been so good
right.
that it's hard to.
McKenna,
Perez.
McKenna,
in the beginning of the season, yeah. Yes. You know what? That probably is the answer. Kind of just dropping the final out of the game. CNL Perez just stood there. Weird, man. Really weird. All right. I have been diving into this book. I read the Joey Votto chapter so far. Looking forward to more of it. It's called Smart, Wrong, and Lucky. Joining us now to tell us more about that and the updated prospects list, he is our friend Jonathan Mayo from MLB.com, MLBPipeline.com. Jonathan, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Are you guys complaining about a team that has the best record in the American League
it's
right
not,
now?
It's not complaining. No. It's not complaining. Jonathan, did you see this? Did you see this last night?
I didn't see it. All I know is 612 winning percent.
I understand that, and we're all very happy about that. I want to make that very clear. But I don't care what your winning percentage is when you stand there and do nothing after throwing the ball away on a pickoff attempt. When you stand there and do nothing and simply watch Fernando Tatis steal a home plate without even a throw to the catcher. I don't care who you are. That can't happen in baseball. That's absurd.
I didn't mean to make you go off again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Diving in, and you and I had talked about the book before and the concept, and I think the concept is fascinating. I will tell Orioles fans that Adam Lowen's name comes up a few times in the Joey Votto chapter that I've been reading. He was the hotly sought-after Canadian prospect at that time. I think what I've enjoyed most about this book is questioning myself, could a story like this happen today? Could there be a player that remains this far under the radar in a modern time where everybody's putting videos on the internet? Could the Joey Votto story happen in 2023?
So, no, not in that way. I think other stories in the book could, the guys who just happen to be late-round picks who end up being better than you think they are, for a variety of reasons. Ian Kinsler played at 3 different colleges, and that's a big reason why he kind of flew way under the radar. He switched to a different area entirely. So that kind of thing could still happen. With Joey Votto, the Reds kind of hit him. To give listeners a rough, very, very sort of bird's eye view of what happened, even from their own general manager. And no, I don't. I think the Joey Vottos of the world today are seen much more. They play a lot more in showcases. Someone would have seen that hitting talent and given him, even if he didn't have the financial wherewithal, probably would have given him more opportunities to showcase in front of a lot more people. So it's unlikely that kind of thing could happen again.
I genuinely love the poker aspect of it. Not allowing a second scout to be there to watch. I love that, right? That we like this guy and we want to see this guy, but we don't want to like this guy too much. I absolutely love that story.
Right. We don't want anybody to know that we like this guy. Which they didn't really have to worry about that much because there weren't that many other teams. It was really just the Yankees who really were in on Joey Votto. The Blue Jays at the time were kind of full-on college performer. Or they wouldn't, so they didn't even really have him evaluated until the very end where there was some industry buzz about him, but they were never going to take him because they weren't taking high school players.
Smart, Wrong, and Lucky, again, is the book. And, Jonathan, for me, I'm not going to do a good enough job of describing the entirety of the story, but remind everybody about what's coming for me as I continue to dive into this book.
Yeah, it's all stories of guys who, like Joey Votto, were undervalued or underappreciated as amateurs, and kind of telling their call them origin stories. It shows the Marvel movie fan that I am. But how they were discovered, how they were scouted and evaluated, and eventually drafted and signed, and the stories vary from the sort of espionage quality of the Joey Votto story to just a scout seeing something in a very raw Lorenzo Cain out of high school, and back then when they had the old draft and follow where you could then send a guy to junior college and signing him for $95,000. And I mentioned Kinsler, who started at junior college, then was at Arizona State and lost his starting spot to a little-known infielder named Dustin Pedroia. And then he transferred to Missouri, where nobody knew who he was. All stories like that. And it's not about the player development side, where those folks and the players particularly get all the credit for putting in the work to exceed expectations, but really starting from the scouting side, largely through the eyes of the scouts, but more often than not, also getting the perspective of the player in terms of what that process was like.
All right, Jonathan Mayo with us here on GCR. We'll link up the book at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Jonathan, updated lists, not only the updated top 100 list, but updated team lists and organizational rankings, and that's good news for the Orioles. I guess we start – I don't even know what else you and I can say about Jackson Holliday at this point. It's absurd what he's doing. It's insane. I still don't think that there's any world in which the Orioles try to squeeze him in now, but, I don't know. We start to think that, maybe it's not insane to think he could be here by, May. It's just bonkers what this guy is doing in the minor leagues.
I think last time I joined you, what did I say? Maybe
right.
Because we were at the point now. At that point, we thought, 2024 seems reasonable, but maybe mid-season?
Yeah.
He's hitting currently. He's got a 975 ops in AA in 21 games. I mean, it's just stupid. Could he handle a promotion? Sure. But there's no reason to, unless you want him to touch AAA to end the year. But I think May is doable. I think it's gonna come down to, you make room for a Jackson Holliday, but in this organization where there's so much depth up the middle with some very talented players, you need to make sure that there's a clear path. And I don't know if that means that, you trade from that depth during the off season to find some starting pitching, whatever it is they feel that they need, depending on how things go this year. You want to make sure when you call him up, he's going to play every day. And then it's a question of where is he going to play every day? And they'll find room, but there's no need to rush him. They can give him a few extra reps, and he doesn't turn 20 until December. So he's so far ahead of the curve that they don't have to. They can let his performance dictate when that's going to happen. And since the team is playing so well, there isn't this we better get him up here. We need that boost. We need that energy. We need something to bring fans in, whatever it is. So it's kind of a perfect storm for the Orioles right now.
So what you just said there about the path is obviously interesting because we continue to see Joey Ortiz on this list. And Joey Ortiz is 25 years old, has proven everything that he could possibly prove in the minors, and yet he's still there. And I'm not suggesting that the Orioles should have just made a trade for the sake of overpaying, but, hell, they might have overpaid for Jack Flaherty, right? That hasn't worked out so well so far. At some point, it really does feel like this is almost getting to theater of the absurd, where why is a player like this still in your minor leagues not helping you in any way when he's 25 and probably can be used in some sort of way to either improve, another area of your team I don't know, man. It's weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, without having been part of the conversations, right, we don't know what was talked about. Maybe there just wasn't a fit.
Right.
Yes, Jack Flaherty hasn't worked out, but they didn't really give up a ton. I know Drew Rahm has been throwing very well since the trade, but they managed to find some help, or what was perceived to be some potential help in an area of need without touching the top of their system, talent-wise, and I think they did that very well. And then they still have, Joey Ortiz, Connor Norby, Jordan Westberg, has graduated off the list, but like all that talent, up the middle in the infield, Norby can play the outfield, sure. You got Kobe Mayo at the corners. I mean, it is an embarrassment of riches. And I think there will come a time where they will have to decide what to do. I mean, Joey Ortiz could probably be a starting shortstop for many, many other major league teams right now.
Yeah. The other interesting part about the guys that are still in there, Samuel Basallo seems as though he's flown up this list. And again, this is a good problem to have when you have a catching prospect behind one of the best catchers in baseball. But this isn't just a neat story anymore. Like, this is a top 50 guy from you guys now. How has this happened that Samuel Basallo has moved up so rapidly?
Well, it's mostly just he's performed, right? I mean, he got 7 figures to sign. So he, at the time, that was the largest international bonus the Orioles had ever given. Now, that was a low bar to clear,
yes,
given the previous regime. But what he has done is really, especially offensively, is hit, and he's kind of hit the ground running here. I mean, he earned a promotion up to high A. Again, he's just turned 19 like a few days ago. Happy birthday, Samuel.
Yeah, right.
And there's still work to be done on his receiving. The throwing is very, very good. And then you worry about, I think they thought, all right, we're getting this young teenage catcher. It's going to take him a long time. He's maybe sped things up a little bit by moving quickly, but he could start back in high A next year. And then they can sort of decide eventually what happens in terms of having Adley Rutschman, at the big leagues. And by then they'll have a better, I think, assessment of Basallo's catching and whether or not, like, all right, is he going to stay there? Do you want to move him to first base? Obviously that could cause some other log jams depending on where Kobe Mayo plays. Again, it's a good problem to have. You don't have to worry about Basallo just yet. I think, there's another at least full year. Although with the way things have been going in terms of how the Orioles have developed players, and that's something I don't think we've talked enough about. We've talked about how they've acquired players and picking at the top of the draft and making really good selections, finding guys even a little bit later on and being active internationally. But their player development folks are just doing fantastic work in helping these players reach their potential, it seems. And that's really an important piece of the puzzle as well.
You brought up Kobe Mayo. Any concern at all about the start he's off to at AAA?
None.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest with you, I hadn't even seen it. No, I'm not too worried. I think the fact of the matter is that he's probably he was a better hitter in Bowie than I expected, because he's a power over hit guy.
Right.
He's gonna figure it out. He's 21. I think there's a combination of there's some approach things that have probably come to the fore a little bit as he's gotten to that upper level. And I don't, if you're that age and you get to AAA, you can smell the big leagues. And without having talked to anybody in the Orioles organization, if this is just a matter of him trying to mash his way to Baltimore and doing too much, I would believe it. But I'm not. It's got 93 at bats there. I'm not the slightest bit concerned.
I get it. All right, the one guy I wanted to bring up, their first-round pick, Enrique Bradfield. Obviously, Jonathan, we're so used to, like, in the last couple of years, the Orioles draft a player and he immediately is in your top 100 prospects because, the Orioles have been picking at the top of the draft. That's not the case anymore. Enrique Bradfield's interesting because the speed is obvious, the defense is obvious. I don't really know if the bat is obvious. Like, what is Enrique Bradfield, who is in your top 10 prospects Orioles-wise, but what do you think Enrique Bradfield is as a prospect?
That's a really good question, right? If you believe in Enrique Bradfield, he's Kenny Lofton.
Okay. I take it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really he's gonna put the ball in play. He's gonna get on base, as you said. It's top of the scale speed, and he knows how to use it on both sides of the ball. This isn't a guy in center field who outruns mistakes and reads and routes. He's a tremendous outfielder, even without the speed, and then add in the 80 speed. He could play center field in the big leagues right now. He's that good. It's all going to come down to impact. He does not have to hit home runs. I don't want people, we talk about this all the time in terms of, impact. You just got to make sure that when you get to the big leagues, the bat's not getting knocked out of your hand, because at a certain point in time, you can't hit a ground ball to shortstop and beat it out regularly. And, he can flare the ball here or there. He just needs to be able to drive the ball to the gaps on occasion, turn on some balls and hit it hard down the line, because what he will then do is turn doubles into triples all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe run into a ball here or there. And he had added a little bit of strength going into his junior year. He didn't have a very good year at Vanderbilt this last year. I don't know if he was trying to, muscle up a little bit more. But that's going to be the biggest issue in terms of what he ends up being. Can he be Kenny Lofton? Is he more like a Juan Pierre kind of player? And I know Juan Pierre had, a fine big league career, but it was a different time. And Bradfield's got a decent approach, which probably makes it better than Juan Pierre kind of swung at everything. And like I said, I've worked for him for quite some time, but I think that's what you're looking at. And there have been plenty of guys over the course of the history of baseball who have that kind of speed, who, doesn't work because they're not impacting the ball regularly enough.
At Jonathan Mayo on Twitter is how you give him a follow. Of course, MLB Pipeline, MLB.com, and pick up Smart, Wrong, and Lucky, available now. Anything else I can plug for you, sir?
No, man, it's all about the book these days.
Go get it. Great stories, and a reminder that, yes, the Orioles were in love with Adam Lowen and could have had Joey Votto, but we'll definitely never think about that ever again. Jonathan Mayo, always appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Jonathan
Mayo with us here on GCR. I was going to say we could squeeze in a break, but I don't think we can squeeze in a break. I think ran right through that. Tends to happen when I'm chatting with Jonathan Mayo. How dare he challenge me complaining? Yes, I'm going to complain anytime I have to witness a guy steal a home plate when the pitcher does nothing. I'm going to do that. I don't care who you are. You could be Roger Clemens. I'm going to complain about it. It can't happen, ever. Just a sleepwalky, grotesque inning last night as the Orioles seemed like they were maybe trying to figure out a way to get back into it after the Mountcastle home run. Not meant to be. Even the one that Westberg sent out the right field in the ninth inning where you're like, ooh, maybe there's still some life here. Nope. Not the case. Not the case. All right. Thanks, Jonathan Mayo. Today's show is also brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan was back in action last night as he and Gary Stein caught up with John Kelly, the chairman of the Maryland Cycling Classic, which is back in just a couple of weeks. Labor Day weekend in Baltimore County and Baltimore. You can find that show, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan the Fan Charles, Gary Stein, and John Kelly, the chairman of the Maryland Cycling Classic. Let's switch gears. A lot of consternation in Baltimore yesterday. Marlon Humphrey going to be out for an amount of time. What that amount of time is, we don't know. But an amount of time John Harbaugh says he doesn't think it's long-term, but the Ravens don't have much at the cornerback position until he's back. How concerned should we be? Joining us now, of course, former Ravens defensive coordinator and Colts head coach, a man whose work you, of course, enjoy on the Pat McAfee program. He is our friend, Mr. Chuck Pagano, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's always great to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, everything good? What's going on with Chuck Pagano these days?
Oh man, life's great. We welcomed our second grandson, fifth grandchild total into the world yesterday.
Congratulations,
Bodie,
Coach.
Bodie Otto. Yeah, so we got another boy. You know, it was all girls, right? I had 3 daughters, then 3 granddaughters, and finally my youngest, Tori, had a son, Bear, who'll be 3 in October. So we just welcomed our 5th grandchild into the world. So blessed, man. We're doing great out here in Idaho.
Man, I get a little emotional because remember it was very moving hearing you talk about the importance of dancing at your daughter's wedding, and to now have you talk about your grandkids. Man, that is a special thing, and makes me really happy to hear you say that. Congratulations, Coach. That is awesome.
Thank you.
That is so cool.
Appreciate it.
Coach, I'm going to present you a thought, right? And I just want to hear your thoughts about it, because the Ravens this offseason, it was a very interesting thought process that they had, where they were dealing with this Lamar Jackson situation. They invested more than we've probably ever seen before in the history of the franchise, another first-round pick at wide receiver, and a free agent splash with Odell Beckham. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they watched Calais Campbell depart. They watched, ultimately, Justin Houston depart. They watched Marcus Peters depart. They did bring in Rock Ya-Sin, so it's not like they did nothing, but that was it. They didn't do anything on the other side of the ball to replace these other players. And I wondered if they couldn't ever say this, and I know why a team couldn't say this publicly, because you can't have the guys on that side of the ball hear this, but I wonder if internally there was a conversation that was just, hey, the pendulum's swinging a little bit. And a franchise that has always been so based on defense, if Lamar Jackson's going to make this much money, we got to swing that pendulum a little bit more to the other side and say, hey, the offense is going to have to carry things a little bit more. Do you think there's a possibility that quietly that was what was going on here in Baltimore this offseason?
Well, I think you see it all over the National Football League. This price tag for these, what we call blue quarterbacks, these franchise quarterbacks, the Lamar Jacksons of the world. I mean, $50 million. I mean, who knows? In 5 years, it's going to be $60, $70 million a year for these guys. So I think it was obvious they had to go out through that whole negotiation to be able to get, Lamar's deal done, to sign, OBJ, to go with Mark Andrews, Bateman, Duvernay, then go draft, Zay Flowers. So, and then with Todd Monken coming in, I talked to Harbaugh earlier in the year on a podcast and with the 33rd team, and a little bit of a seismic shift in philosophy from, heavy tight end centric offense and fullbacks and run game and things like that. They're still going to run it, but I think they're going to spread the thing out and, make defenses defend every blade of grass. So, and then to the defensive side, to your point, with the secondary and losing the guys that they lost on defense, and Marcus Peters is gone. Kyle Fuller they brought in, who was a veteran, blew his knee out. He's still on the street. Now you got these guys beat up. The news about Marlon. Yeah, it just, Mike McDonald and Chris Hewitt, secondary guy. Denard Wilson's new coming in there, secondary guy, proven guy, really good football coaches. They're going to have to develop young guys the way this thing's going. And so I think Mr. Bisciotti has always been, of that mindset. John's always been that mindset, and they'll do a great job. And they're going to get tested early, obviously.
And look, we don't know where Joe Burrow is going to be by week 2, but my gosh, the thought of, this current Ravens secondary out there against Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd in week 2, it is almost a terrifying thought. I guess let me go to that. If you're Mike McDonald, is it, hey, I've got to dial up more pressure now because it is what it is? Is it simply, these are the guys we have, I'm forced to trust them, let's do everything the exact same way that we would if Marlon was out there and hope for the best? How do you handle it when you lose a player like this that's so important to what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, I think there has to be a fine balance, because you can go too heavy one way or the other, right? You can sit back and say, okay, we got a bunch of young players, inexperienced guys that haven't played. Rock Ya-Sin, he's played. He's got 5 years experience. He's beat up right now, but we can play a lot of zone coverage. We can play a lot of shell coverage, depend on our front, the strength of our defense, our linebackers, Roquan and Pat Queen, and play cover two, protect those guys, play some soft zone coverage. But then if you don't get home, you don't get to the quarterback, then they pick you apart, especially a Joe Burrow and the receiving core that you mentioned in Cincinnati. Or you go the other way too heavy, and we know they love the pressure. We've always loved the pressure there. They've always loved the pressure there. That's been their identity, to your point earlier. So I think it's a balance. I think this offense with Lamar and the weapons that they have, and J.K.'s back, Gus Edwards, Lamar, they're going to be able to score points. So you can go in and say, okay, the other thought is we can go like the New Orleans Saints, who won a Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 09?
Yeah.
And Sean Payton was like, hey, look, Greg Williams was the DC. I don't think they ranked in the top 25 in defense, but they led the league in turnovers and takeaways. So it was like, hey, get the ball back for us. Let's get an early outcome, good or bad. Either sack the quarterback, a strip sack, an interception, a pick six, or we give up a big play. Sean didn't care. That was their formula. So a lot of different ways to attack this. I think they'll have a nice balance, with it. And those young players are going to have to look. They only had 14 picks last year, 14 takeaways,
Mm-hmm.
interceptions. And Marlon is a turnover machine. So they don't have him. Rock Ya-Sin's got 2 career interceptions. Those other young Pepe's hurt. I know that. Brandon Stevens doesn't have any. J.D. Armour Davis doesn't have any interceptions. So they're going to have to try to create a way to force some turnovers and get the ball back to this offense.
He is Coach Chuck Pagano. He's with us here on GCR. Let me follow up on 2 things that you brought up there. One, because Coach, I've said this kind of out loud a lot recently. It's interesting what the Ravens did this offseason, because in the previous years they had said out loud, hey, we believe that the way to build a defense is from outside in, that analytically the best way to build a defense is to make sure you're strong in the secondary and deep in the secondary, and then they didn't do that this year. I have felt, and with public examples, when the Ravens were able to beat the Chiefs a couple years ago, it was because of Dafe Owe got in at the end of the game and made a game-changing play to knock the ball out. We saw the Super Bowl a couple years ago and what it is that the Rams were able to do late in order to put away the Bengals. For as much as a statistically good defense might be built outside in, it feels to me like the best thing you can do defensively, given the rules of the game anymore, is exactly what you're talking about. Just game-changing plays, that when the game is on the line, somebody gets in the backfield and wrecks things for you. Somebody forces a turnover. What is a good defense anymore, Coach? Is it a good statistic defense, or is it a defense that is opportunistic and is playmaking?
Yeah, a great question. If you can't get to the quarterback, I don't care how good you are in the back end. I don't care how much experience. It's hard to cover these dudes for 3 seconds. And the ball's coming out so damn fast now, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, but 3 seconds is hard. And then these athletic quarterbacks, they're going to see 2 young quarterbacks, Houston and then Indy, athletic quarterbacks that be able to extend plays. Now you're asking guys to cover for 5, 6, 7 seconds.
Right.
It's impossible. So you have to have, to your point, those game wreckers, those game changers up front. And, it's always been inside out. It's always been strong up the middle. A great interior D-line, edge rushers, a great middle linebacker, and a great safety. But because everybody's always looking, hey, pass rushers and corners, right? We can never have enough edge guys and cover guys. And so to me, like if you can't get to the quarterback, if you've got the edge guys and you can rush 4 and deploy 7 in coverage, that's ideal. To me, that's ideal. Because then you ain't got to just roll the dice and try to throw the kitchen sink at everybody and try to expose your guys in the secondary, especially young guys. We saw early in the season where that happened, like at Miami. You got a big lead, And then, you start doing some things and give up some huge plays to those guys and lose a game that you should have won. You roll the dice that way. So I just think with those edge guys that they have, Ojabu, Owe, those guys are going to have to be able to get home, because if you can't, it's hard to cover.
I know your affinity for Roquan Smith, right? We've talked about it before, and look, we almost maybe share the same affinity after we had high expectations. I told you, Coach, and he surpassed every single one of them a season ago. The last time we talked, you made a comparison. You echoed the name of someone that obviously in Ray Lewis we hold to an extraordinary regard. Is it possible that Roquan Smith is that good? And look, the Ravens are paying him $20 million a year to play football, that he is so good and does so many things that his presence alone allows some of these other players to be better versions of themselves, to have more of the field to work with, whatever it is, that you can get more out of these group of young players just because they are on the same field as Roquan Smith.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he's going to be even more comfortable, going into his second year there. Coming in last year, during the season with the trade and all that. Look, Roquan's worth every penny. He's a 3-down linebacker. You never have to take that guy off the field. He's going to stand in front of that, in front of that defense, be the signal caller. Ray is obviously a special player, maybe the best, if one of the best, if not the best, to ever play that position in the National Football League, right? History of the game. Roquan is just so talented and so smart. You just saw so many similarities, at Chicago when I was with him, the way he studies the game. He's got such a high football IQ. I mean, that's it for him. He knows before the ball snapped what the hell's going on. And then with his skill set, yeah, everybody else, the way he plays the game, the energy he brings, the passion, the enthusiasm, the football IQ, like I mentioned, it's going to raise the level. And young guys, especially if they got to open the season with those young guys in the back end, the guy can do it all. He's a hell of a blitzer. He's a hell of a cover guy. Versus the run, I mean, he's an animal beast coming downhill, making tackles. So, him and Queen, I mean, that's a good tandem in the National Football League that there is.
Yeah, it was really special to watch those guys together a year ago. Coach, I guess last one for you. The idea that maybe the pendulum has to swing to the offense a little bit more. As we talked about, though, this is a new coordinator, a quarterback coming off a serious injury. 2 of your top 3 receivers are coming off serious injuries, and the other one's a rookie. Can that happen immediately, right? Like, is it possible that you can hit the ground running and already be there and with this offense ready to kind of carry things for this team? Or is that going to take a little bit of time? And is there an argument maybe? Like the Ravens in the last couple of years have been allergic to playing guys in the preseason, and I get it, right? The J.K. Dobbins thing, him getting hurt in the preseason really seemed to be a line of demarcation. And I always get a little, like I looked at Patrick Mahomes playing in the preseason. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is the benefit there? But is there an argument that if you need the offense to help shoulder the load a little bit more, that maybe you do try to have these guys play a little bit in the preseason just to try to help that click a little bit quicker?
Yeah, especially, with a new offensive coordinator, new system, terminology, getting those guys on the same page. Lamar hadn't been there. That chemistry's not quite there yet. So such a fine balance, because you put those guys in and say, we're going to get 8-10 plays out of them, one drive, take them down. Derek Carr, for the Saints, 8 plays, 10 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. Okay, boom, you're done. So is that enough? Probably not. But you got work done. You got put points on the board. You feel good about yourself. So, with this new system, I think you got to play those guys. You can protect them with play calls. You don't have to put them in harm's way. You put Pat Mahomes out there, you throw a screen, the ball's out of his hand. Preseason they write hot potato on your glove or on your wristband on your tape. I mean, just to remind you, like, get the damn ball out of your hand, Pat. So Lamar, same thing. Hand it off, zone read, RPO, throw some screens, take a few shots down the field, and then get the heck out of there. But with that, at Cincy, Houston and Indy, 2 rookie quarterbacks, but then at Cleveland, at Pitt, we're going to know a hell of a lot about the AFC North early in the season, good or bad, right? So playing those 3 division teams all on the road, shoot, you got to – because if you come out humming, in the defense, you get some guys back on defense and you can start. We know how important those division games are. That's gonna be huge. I can't wait to see that play out.
Coach Chuck Pagano. So, hey, what's the strategy as a grandfather? Is it, man, I'm here for everything, I'll even help out with diapers? Or is it, hey, I happen to notice that there's a diaper change that's needed, and you hand them right back now to your girls?
Oh, yeah, all hands on deck right now. Because Bear, my first grandson, Bear's a handful. He's going to be 3, like I said, in October. Now he's got a new baby brother. So, yeah, it's all hands on deck. So, whatever they need. My wife Tina, they call her Gigi, G for short, and I'm Pop.
Oh,
Pop for short.
I love it.
Whatever they need from G and Pop. I mean, like you said, we're blessed to be here, to be around to see this and help out. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. But like you said, the great thing, you get to hand them off.
That's the point, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'm fortunate. My wife and I, we got an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, but we've got 5 grandparents here, right? And for our 2 kids, they're the only grandkids for all 5 grandparents, right? Her mom, her dad, her stepmother, my 2 parents. We couldn't have more. I don't know how people do it without these circumstances, because we have needed every ounce of it the entire time. Coach, so happy for you and your family. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Always appreciate taking time for us. Thanks so much for hopping on this morning.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Always my pleasure. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Coach Chuck Pagano, great man. Always appreciate him taking time for us. And I am more and more convinced. I bring up that last question about the preseason. It came up from a listener last night on the radio show as we were talking about this pendulum swinging concept. And I'm still going to tell you, nah. Like, I get it. I understand the theory, but nah, not doing it. And I keep saying, Josh Allen's apparently going to play in the preseason. And all I can think is, like, what are you doing? I'm telling you, as I was talking, we had Kadri on last night. And as I'm talking to Kadri, I look up at the TV in the studio, and it's a replay of the NFL Network. The NFL Network's replaying the Saints game that I was watching on Sunday. And I'm bringing up the concept, and I'm looking up, and I'm watching the play where Patrick Mahomes is sliding on the turf in the dome in the middle of the field with a defender coming right, like lowering as he's going to slide. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I already know that he didn't get hurt on the play because it's a replay of the game. But as it's happening, I'm like, ah!
I finally watched Hard Knocks last night, and it was the Panthers-Jets game.
Uh-huh.
So the Jets D-line is amazing. Will
yeah,
McDonald,
Quinn Williams,
so Bryce Young it looked like Bryce Young played the entire first quarter. They were showing highlights of him just getting destroyed by the Jets D-line, and I was just like, what? I mean,
I do always think it's a a little bit different for rookies because, like, you gotta just see what NFL speed is or whatever. But I still hear you.
After one series, seeing him get hit 3 times.
Like, is there any reward that makes even the slightest amount of risk worth it? And I just, I don't feel it. All right, let's do this. Let's grab a break quickly. When we come back in, Brian Newberry, Navy football coach, they're going to Dublin to play Notre Dame. We'll talk to him about it next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to Baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
It's game on every day at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Here, you are in on every play with 100-foot screens at Sports & Social, the best table games action, and FanDuel Sportsbook, all just steps away. The best bar bites and drinks to indulgent steaks and curated cocktails. Your game day only gets better when matched up with Live's distinguished dining options. Late game? No problem. Our luxury hotel awaits. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland is the place to be on game day and every day. For more information, visit www.maryland.livecasinohotel.com. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com will keep you moving.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for Pressbox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Baysox. It's the return of Grateful Dead Night on Friday the 18th. A special t-shirt package is available. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday the 19th with our Baytoberfest. Get some beer specials while you enjoy the game. And get here early on Sunday for a pregame Meet the Team autograph session. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at Baysox.com. The Bowie Baysox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Josina Anderson from CBS this morning tweets, in addition to free agent cornerback Ronald Darby, who is visiting the Ravens today, per Ian Rappaport, I'm told free agent cornerback Anthony Brown is a name that's on the team's radar, per source. We'll see what that translates to, if anything at all. I'll update as I get more info. I'm running right now, which is it's interesting, right?
No,
I appreciate that honesty. But I feel like we had dealt with this one time before with Josina Anderson, where like she tweeted something that had like 3 qualifiers to it. Like I feel like every time she says something, there's always these qualifiers. I'm told free agent cornerback is a name that's on the team's radar. That's one qualifier per source. That's not technically a qualifier. We'll see what that translates to. If anything at all. So is it?
I'm told that there is a player in the NFL player pool that...
Anthony Brown, I mean, this is the reality. It's sort of like comparing it to Ronald Darby. Anthony Brown suffered a torn Achilles in Week 13 last year. Ronald Darby, of course, coming off a torn ACL. There's a reason why anybody that's a qualified, veteran cornerback that would be available right now, the reason why they're likely available is because they're hurt. And teams aren't sure if they're going to be ready to go. The problem for the Ravens is they need cornerbacks now. Now, allegedly, according to Ian Rappaport, Ronald Darby is ready to go. I don't know where Anthony Brown is. Torn Achilles in Week 13, it's certainly not impossible. We have seen players return in shorter amounts of time from injuries like that. But, that's a serious injury to expect him to just be ready to go to play a football game in Week 1. To the point that we brought up yesterday, the Ravens are so thin at cornerback, beyond just Marlon Humphrey, that they need players for, later in the season, too. So if one of these guys can help, but it might take him a couple weeks, I'm not opposed to still signing them because before the Marlon Humphrey injury, the Ravens were thin at cornerback. But, They really need somebody that can play week 1 and week 2. And that's the tough part about looking at guys that are coming off of injuries, which for the most part is the guys that are available. So we'll see. I had to do this a little bit earlier on because of their practice schedule, but an opportunity to catch up with the head football coach at the Naval Academy, Coach Brian Newberry, here on GCR. We're joined now here on GCR by a man who's getting ready to make his debut as the head football coach at the Naval Academy. He's going to be headed over the pond in just a couple of days ahead of Week 0 against Notre Dame. He is Coach Brian Newberry, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's great to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Coach, I wonder if you could, just from the day you got elevated into this role to now, is there something that you've already noticed is maybe even a little bit different than what your expectations were for taking on the head coaching job?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think, I've never enjoyed being a defense coordinator for a long, long time, and being a head coach was never truly the end-all, be-all for me, and really didn't start to have that desire, truthfully, or I started to wrap my mind around what that would look like until maybe the last 3 or 4 years. And, working for coaches I worked for, great mentors, and see the way that they did it kind of inspired me to want to do it myself. And I don't think you're ever fully prepared. There's things that come up, almost on a daily or weekly basis that are new challenges, and always trying to find solutions for them. But I tell you, it was a lot at first, to be perfectly honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're making staff changes and hires and trying to lay out a plan and a vision for your program, it was a lot initially. And but I've it's gotten easier. I'll tell you that, and I'm starting to transition and enjoying it now more so than I did the initial parts of it. I think the one thing that I did is I hired a great staff, and I got great coaches around me, which makes my job much easier. But I don't think it could have gone a whole lot smoother than it has up until this point. I think we're kind of right where I hoped we would be when I took the job back in December. So certainly there's a learning curve to it, and there's things that come up every day, but that's part of it. But I've enjoyed the process and really starting to enjoy it.
Yeah, obviously, it's a lot different than somebody who comes into a new place, and obviously you had not bad leadership around you before that in order to try to make this role more seamless. Coach,
no, not at all.
A nice, easy one for you to kick it off, though, right? Like a nice, real, low-key, easy, no problem type of game. I know these are exciting, and to be part of something like this is incredible, right? Like, I understand that. Is there a part of you on the flip side that says, like, man, maybe it wouldn't have been the worst idea for us to schedule an FCS team, though, for the first one?
A lot of people said that to me, and don't you wish you had them a little bit later in the year? And Notre Dame's going to get better later in the year too. Just like we will. So, I think if anything, I think there's some advantages to playing them in the opener for us. Being that I'm a new head coach here, and we've got new coordinators in place. It's probably a little bit more for them to chase, than it is for us. And just really excited about the opportunity to play them, and in a venue like we're playing in. It's an awesome opportunity for our players and for our fans, and I couldn't be more excited about the first game.
I know your offensive coordinator recently said that the expectation is that you guys are going to play both quarterbacks against Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all very familiar with Ty. I don't know that everybody is all that familiar with Blake. What can you tell us about that young man and why it is that you want to see him on the field now this season?
Yeah, well, Blake's essentially we don't redshirt here at the academy, but he'd be a redshirt freshman. But certainly we knew last year that he had some special talents, and had an opportunity this spring because Ty was coming off an ACL. He wasn't completely cleared yet. He was very, very limited. Xavier Arline was playing lacrosse, and he was banged up as well. So allowed him an opportunity, and he took full advantage of it back in the spring. Really, really improved and continued to do so, throughout the off season and the summer workouts. And he's been really, really impressive. My hesitation was starting Blake would be, this would be his first college football game.
Mm-hmm.
Playing your first game in that kind of environment I don't know if it's fair to put that kind of pressure on him right out the gate. Ty's played in those kind of games. He's played in, the Army-Navy game. He's played in the biggest venues and biggest games of the year. And so he's become cool, collected. So I anticipate that both of them will play. Likely Ty will start that game. We're still kind of working through that. But so that's kind of where we're at with those two.
Coach Brian Newberry from Navy is with us here on GCR as they get ready for Notre Dame in Week 0. Coach, with that in mind, is it the goal to continue playing both guys? Is your thought that at some point, one of them is your starting quarterback? Is that maybe hey, get back to me in 2 weeks and we'll talk about that then type of situation?
Yeah, probably more of that, truthfully. You love to have two guys that you feel good about playing, because of the nature of our offense. The quarterback carries the football a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The chance of those guys staying entirely healthy all year is not great. So you want to feel good about two. And really, I'd say, Xavier Arline's played a ton of snaps for us and won games for us. And so he's a solid option as well. And we're doing some different things with him, playing him in the slot some and trying to find ways to get him on the field. But we can certainly win with him also. And so it's good to have that kind of depth. I think we've had that in the past. And, you kind of – I'm not a big two-quarterback guy, but you would love to have two that can roll. And whoever gets the hot hand, we may end up rolling with one or the other. And we'll kind of see how it plays out.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that with Xavier, right? This new role that you have imagined, or that you obviously, and I say you, but it's the staff, of course. And
yeah.
I know that's not really your side of the ball, but I get it. You're the head coach now. What that might look like with Xavier and how you try to find some different ways to get the ball in his hands.
Yeah, well, I think he's a backup quarterback, and the ability to put him in the slot. He's a very dynamic athlete and has good ball skills, and so to have two quarterbacks on the field at one time is I think a challenge. From a personnel standpoint for our opponents. And he can run and catch. And be able to get the ball to him in space and on the perimeter and do some unique things with him gives us a unique opportunity on offense.
I imagine that you feel pretty good about your defense coming into this season, right? Like, is that the case of it would be unfair to say, hey, there's reason to have solid expectations. The question about how far Navy can go will be, whether the offense can catch up.
Yeah, I do. I feel really good about our defense. We have 9 guys coming back, and those 9 coming back have played a ton of snaps for us because a lot of them played when they were young. We took some licks with that, but it's obviously hopefully going to pay off for us this year. And lost a lot of production, with Nick Straw, our Raider last year, and of course John Marshall at striker. And but I'm excited about the guys that are replacing those two, and hopefully we won't have much drop off at those spots. And just it's an experienced group. We've made some changes, personnel placement that I think are really good changes. And excited to see what that looks like. But they've been in the same system for a long time now. They've played a lot of snaps. Coach Volker has done a tremendous job with the defense since he took it over, and couldn't be more pleased with where we're at, and excited to roll out on the field with those guys.
Coach, could you walk us through, obviously there's a reason why you're in this situation, right? And that's that the expectation at Navy is to be winning, getting bowl eligible, and competing in the conference. As this transition happens, you're met with those being the expectations and that being the standard, but it's not easy when you're in a time of transition. What do you feel like are reasonable expectations for your program going into this season?
No, it's not easy, and we had a tough few years, and you can go all the way back to COVID and kind of what that did to our program, and it was different here than it was anywhere else. And you can certainly make some excuses for the lack of success here, but I think the expectation from Chet Gladchuk is fair. I mean, we expect to win the CIC around here, and we expect to go to a bowl game, and I don't think that's unreasonable by any stretch. And I think as things start to settle back down from the everybody getting an extra year for COVID and those kind of things, that the playing field will start to level out a little bit, and certainly helps. But no, I think the expectations here are reasonable, and there's no reason why we can't do that.
Is there anything to be said for how the league has changed this year? That, like, given the fact that you're one of the teams that's been around, and that, like, that maybe there's reason to think that the league, I don't want to say is coming back to you because it's an unfair thing to say because it's still a hell of a competitive league, but that it positions you guys maybe even a little bit better within the league?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It is a very good league, and it's a league that's going to continue to get better. And look at the schools that we brought in and the recruiting areas that they're located in and the coaches that they've hired and those kind of things. It's going to be an exciting league. And but I do think, having, 5 new teams on the schedule, it certainly helps us because, what we do offensively and defensively is unique. It's not easy to prepare for if you're not seeing it every year, especially. And so to have some new opponents on the schedule that are going to have to put together a plan to defend us, and I think that helps a little bit.
Is it weird for you coming into this, taking over the head coaching gig and just trying to get ready for football, and at the same time, like you look around and college football is just kind of all over the place, and everybody's panicking about like the future of the sport? Is it weird for you knowing like, hey, that stuff matters, but you can't obsess over it? How do you handle that sort of measurement?
Yeah, well, obviously the state of college football is always a concern for me, and things that are going on with the portal and the NIL and the realignments are some of them are alarming and concerning, and I think it'll take care of itself eventually. But the good thing here is a lot of that doesn't affect us, and in a lot of ways that makes us even a more special place to be. And certainly I think I've got one of the best jobs in college football, and extremely grateful to be here and to coach the kind of kids I get to coach on a daily basis, and not have to deal with some of the things that other coaches are dealing with right now. And so this place has always been a unicorn, and I think it's even more so nowadays.
All right, so what's the plan? Do you try to stay adjusted to like the time here in the States, or do you get out there? Like, what's the plan for making a trip like this to Dublin?
Yeah, well, we go out. Nothing here is really going to change. We'll be on a normal schedule. We practice here Wednesday, and then we get on a plane, Wednesday night, and fly through the night over the pond. And I think we get in around 9 o'clock Thursday morning, and we'll have a walkthrough on Thursday, and then a split up practice on Friday, and we'll roll. So really, there's not a whole lot you can do, when you're trying to adjust to a 5-hour time difference. And so, we've talked about it a lot, and I think the schedule is as good as it can be. And obviously in the first game of the year, you'd like not to have to deal with those logistical issues, but Notre Dame is dealing with the same things. And so it's not a disadvantage for us, but certainly something to be a little bit concerned about. But I feel good about our plan, logistically.
Do you allow yourself even like a moment to say, hey, like make sure you go out on the field and look around and like realize how cool it is that you're the head coach at Navy, going up against Notre? Will you allow yourself anything like that?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope for our players to be able to have this opportunity and experience. You want them to be able to soak it up and take it all in, and at the same time kind of drown out the noise and the distractions when the time comes. And so you want them to be able to enjoy it. It's it'll be a great experience for them. And so I certainly hope to have a moment where I can take it all in, and hopefully after the game have a really good moment to take it all in.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
No question.
If it worked out that way, obviously won't be easy. I hear that kid Hartman's okay.
No,
I hear that.
He's not bad. He's not bad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think he's a special player. Great leader. He's a winner. It sounds like he's really galvanized that unit over there, and I've watched him a ton and got a ton of respect for him and how he plays and how he handles his business, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Brian Newberry, really excited to see what you guys are able to do against Notre Dame and all throughout the course of the season. We will be checking in. Appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us. Safe travels, and best of luck as you head out to Dublin.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate you.
That's Brian Newberry, Navy football coach, with us here on GCR as he gets ready for Notre Dame next Saturday in Dublin. Appreciate him spending a couple of minutes with us. All right, let's switch gears. It's time for us to make our weekly trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. Our next guest here on GCR is someone who is having a very nice season between the two levels that he has pitched at this year. He has appeared. Now, listen to these numbers. He's appeared in 25 games. He's allowed a total of 5 earned runs in 29 1/3 innings. Opponents hitting .083 against him, pitching to a 0.65 whip.
Sheesh.
Those numbers will work. Those numbers will work. He is relief pitcher Keagan Gillies, and he's with us now here on GCR. Keagan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
It's great to chat with you. I imagine it's been great to chat to anybody this season. As you've been kind of on one all year long, you get the bump up to Bowie. The numbers continue to be pretty good. How happy have you been with how this season has gone for you?
It's been a great year so far. Since I've been drafted, it's kind of been up and down with injuries and those type of things, which is kind of out of your control sometimes. So coming into this year, I just wanted to stay healthy and make it through a full year and really show everybody what I have.
Tell me about, I don't know the background for you, Keagan. I feel like for so many guys, it's difficult to become a relief pitcher because what's the old saying, right? A relief pitcher is a failed starting pitcher typically. What was the
Right.
What was the background for you? Because it's all you've done since coming into this system. When did you move into a role where you're like, okay, this is who I am, this is my path, and how did you handle this could be the thing that gets me to the major leagues one day? I don't care what it means about other things that I might have done. I need to be really good at this.
Yeah, no, I've been a starter all my life up until after my junior year of college at Tulane. I kind of got a bump in velo, went to an all-season training program and got a pretty big bump in velo. And when I came back, I was fighting for a Friday night position at Tulane my senior year. And actually a week before the season started, our head coach came up to me and said, "Hey man, we need a closer and we want you to be that guy." And at first, I'm kind of thrown back a little bit because, I'm fighting for that Friday position. I wanted to start,
Mm-hmm.
that was always my passion. But as soon as I got a taste for that bullpen and that closing role, man, I loved it. It's exciting. The adrenaline is next to nothing. And coming into the ninth and closing it out in a 1, 2, 3 run ball game is, just so much fun to me. And going back to starting is, fine with me. I can do it if I need be. But honestly, the closing role is something that I'm passionate about now. And I love the adrenaline rush, getting it in and shutting them down.
Did you find yourself almost feeling like, oh, this is natural for me? Maybe this is what I was meant to do? Because what you just said there is so interesting to me. You talk to so many relief pitchers who are like, it takes a different type of mentality, right? Like you almost have to be a little bit of a psychopath to come into a game and be utterly ramped up when you had no idea that you were going to be pitching that day. Did that mentality come natural to you? Did you have to figure out a way to sort of ramp yourself up and learn how to do that?
No, not at all. That was kind of my mentality as a starter anyway, going out there, kind of being the crazy bulldog mentality, almost psycho-ish, if you will.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But yeah, as a starter, I kind of had that same mentality going out there and just bulldogging my way through, 6 or 7 innings. So once I got to the pen, it came really natural. Definitely the routines had to shake up a little bit, but overall, just getting the caffeine in and getting ready to get your name called stayed the same.
That's pretty great. It feels almost like you're becoming like a professional wrestler in those moments, right? Like most of the day you're Keagan, and then for like a couple of minutes you're Keagan the Destroyer,
Exactly. It's an alter ego for sure.
Where the uptick in velocity, where how has that gone as you've gotten to the pros? Where are you sitting at velocity wise?
Right now it's like I said, I wanted to stay healthy all this season. I didn't want to have to go out there and, throw my exact hardest every time because that sometimes leads to injury. So a lot of the times, or especially this year, I'm about 3 to 5, touching a 96 here. But just going out and being consistent in that velocity range and, putting the ball where I want to put it in certain situations. And, it's been pretty successful for me this year.
As you say that, it sounds like what you're saying is that you could, as you continue to make your move, let's just say we're talking about Keagan Gillies, major league reliever. At that point, where do you think the velocity could still go?
I mean, the sky is the limit. I don't want to put a cap on what I could possibly do, especially, going into the off season. I feel like I can really push it to any limit. So I'm not going to hold myself to a cap there.
I understand that. I really want you to just say like 104 so I get excited because we've been watching Felix Bautista this season, and it's just like, oh, I don't even know if this doesn't seem human. Like,
right.
how can the human being do that?
Good.
Yeah, I hear he's okay. Keagan Gillies is with us in the Baysox. Baysox back home this weekend. So many great events this weekend at Prince George's County Stadium, including fireworks night and Grateful Dead night on Friday night, with a lot of very cool things, including a T-shirt giveaway. On Saturday, fireworks and the Craft Beer Fest. And then on Sunday, the Baysox are back as Cangrejos Fantasmas de Chesapeake. And that is always a cool thing. Get your tickets for all of these events right now at Baysox.com. Keagan, being a part of this organization, and seeing the opportunity that's in front of you, how much more exciting has that made it to, becoming a pro is an exciting thing no matter where you're going to be. But, looking and saying, man, I could be, a step or so away from trying to help a team win a World Series. How much more meaningful has that been for you?
I mean, it means the world, honestly. It's been a long road to get here, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of failures to overcome. So, just being in that conversation or even just being a step away is, very meaningful to me because, it's been a long road, like I said. So just having the opportunity to, be in Bowie and showcase my stuff and then, whenever the time's right, hopefully get that call up to the next step or two.
Yeah.
It'll mean the world for me, and not only me, but my family, because, they put in a lot of time for me to get to this point as well.
I don't know, and I'm asking this genuinely. I assume that you probably were teammates at some point with Hudson Askin, but did that time line up right at Tulane?
Yeah. He was there my junior year and senior year,
okay.
Which was that COVID year. So we played about a year and a half together. But yeah, we played together also with Colin Burns.
Oh, sure, right, yeah.
So we got a little Tulane squad here with the Orioles.
How cool has that been for you, right? To know these guys. And I know that you haven't all been at the same place at the same time the entire time, but how neat has that been to be able to continue those relationships here?
It's awesome because those are two really cool guys, really good guys. We had some good times together at Tulane, and then Huddy came in, a year or two before I did, so he kind of knew the system, and he kind of gave me some insights on what was going on, the best ways to move through the system.
That's cool.
Gave me some pointers through that. So it's been awesome having those guys here.
That's helpful, man. That's really, really cool. And then did I read somewhere that you had actually played some baseball in the Baltimore area even before you were in this system, that you were involved with the Ripken League?
Yeah, I was. My freshman year, summer actually, they sent me out here to play for the Redbirds when they were in the Cal League, and it was an awesome experience. That was my first taste of Baltimore. Actually, going to an O's game that year, and then what a coincidence, 4 or 5 years later, I'm playing in that Orioles jersey.
That's cool, man.
It's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool, and making your move and making some noise now as you move forward. I saw on your Twitter, big Saints fan.
Oh, huge Saints fan.
Okay.
Huge.
So, I look, man, I'm not trying to be disparaging towards the Saints because, the truth is, in that division, man, it might only take 7 wins to win the NFC South this year. Where were you at with the Derek Carr thing? Were you okay, cool, or did you kind of feel no, just go draft a damn quarterback and find the guy?
Well, I mean, coming off of Drew Brees, it's been a tough couple of years since he retired. So I'm actually very, very on board with Derek Carr. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's an underrated quarterback. And I think with the weapons that we have this year, I think we can actually make some moves and probably win more than 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, you might, but I'm telling you, you might not need to. You might not need to win more than 7 games in order to win that division. So I was talking to Silas recently about how you can't get a good crawfish boil around these parts. Have the two of you ever tried to recreate something like that, like a couple of Louisiana guys playing together?
We haven't yet. I'm sure that time will come. Crawfish season is over, so it's going to be tough to get any crawfish up here. But no, I actually haven't. It's been tough to try to cook some Louisiana Cajun food.
So that's what I want. What is the thing that you? Because look, I am a big New Orleans guy. I try to go out of my way every couple of years to find an excuse to make a trip down, just to eat for a week. Legitimately, that's all. I just walk around and eat for an entire week. What is the single thing that it's killing you that you most miss that's more like Cajun style that you just can't? There's no way to replicate it here.
It's crawfish. There's no doubt about it. It's been, I mean, baseball season runs right into crawfish season, so I can never get it before I leave. And if I do get it, it's still pretty early, so they're a little small. But overall, it's definitely crawfish. I just can't replicate that at all over here.
I am convinced, though, and this is from a man who went the other way, right? Like I was a guy that cracked crabs my entire life, and then went to New Orleans the first time, got invited to a crawfish bowl, and I was like, oh, I know what this is all about. This is like when we have a crab feast back home. Like, I can understand this. Have you been able to translate, like, the love of crawfish? Have you sat down and cracked crabs at any point that you've been here and said, okay, this isn't the same thing, but it ain't bad?
Well, we have crab boils in Louisiana, too. Just crawfish boils are, I guess, more appetizing to us. But I have not had the crabs out here yet. My fiance's dad actually runs a seafood shop in Louisiana, and he came out here to visit, and he had some of the crabs, and he actually enjoyed them. So that's saying a lot coming from him.
All right, I'm telling you, it's like you should be able to just sit down. It's the same concept where everybody sits down, you dump a bunch of crabs out on a table, and you're grateful to be alive, right? Like you sit around all day. I think that it would be something that you'd be able to dig and you'd be able to get into. This kid that's playing behind you right now when you come into the games, this 19-year-old that looks like he might be the greatest player in the history of baseball. What has it been like to watch and to have Jackson Holliday playing behind you as you've made these moves in the system?
It's awesome. I mean, he's such a great player, such a young player, and he's this good already. He's got a mature approach about him. Whether it's coming into the locker room or his ABs or just playing defense, he's got a real mature approach. And I played with him in Delmarva when he first came up, and then Aberdeen, and now seeing him now in Bowie, he's just every year, every month he's gotten better. Switching from high A hitters to double A hitters is really hard.
Yeah,
and he's telling everybody how easy it is.
It's nuts, right?
It's really not, and it's just awesome to see someone doing that at such a young age.
Give me one maybe teammate that you don't think gets enough love? Like, obviously that guy is, everybody's paying attention to him, right? But is there somebody on your team that you feel like, you've watched him, you've seen the performance, you say that guy's special, and I don't think anybody's talking about him nearly enough?
I think people are talking about him, but I'd say Billy Cook is one of those guys.
Okay. He can make some plays, man.
Months, he's been making some noise, and it's been really fun to watch. He's a super utility player, so he's playing, 5, 6, 7 positions on the field, and he just goes up to the plate and mashes. It's really fun to watch, and he's starting to get that recognition these past couple months, but definitely someone who needs more of it.
And I know that he had a 2-home-run game not that long ago, right, too? Like, he's starting to show some pop, too, on top of everything else.
That's very common. Common for him.
Let me get the rundown in again. Baysox.com. Huge weekend ahead. Seriously, the Craft Beer Festival, it's awesome. Grateful Dead night. Make sure you get your tickets. What about you, Keagan? What about, where can Orioles fans be giving you a follow? Twitter, Instagram, anywhere like that as they want to follow you along on this journey?
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on both of those. I believe my Instagram handle is Kgillis, Kgillis29. And then my Twitter handle is Keagan Gillies 10, I believe. So you can find me on both of those platforms.
It's Gillis. It looks like more like Gillies when you Gillies, but it's Gillis.
That's correct.
And that's how you search. You can find him there. Keagan, congratulations, man. What an awesome season you're putting together. Can't wait to see what's next for you as you continue your path towards the major leagues. Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning. Look forward to doing it again, dude.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Truly appreciate it.
That's Keagan Gillies, the Bowie Baysox, with us here on GCR, having a very, very nice season. Hey, if you missed it, we got a new print issue of Press Box that's available right now. Get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into the contract era now for Lamar Jackson. One of the highest paid players in football history. What's next? What are the next steps? How does that translate to the Ravens breaking through and making their first deep run in the postseason in a very long time? It's a franchise that has not been to an AFC Championship game since winning the Super Bowl. Bo Smolka dives into that in this print issue of Press Box. On the cover, also a lot of college football content. Great stories about Brian Newberry, who joined us a little bit ago, and Pete Shinnick, the new coach at Towson. Meet some players from around the area. Kyle Andrews introduced. I had no idea. Did you know that DJ Hamler, who plays at Morgan State, is the cousin of KJ Hamler?
Oh, really?
Denver Broncos. I had no idea, but you can learn about that in this print issue of Press Box, which is available now. When we come back in, Griffin will tell us what's going on in the world of the fight game this weekend. Big UFC fight coming up on Saturday night. We'll find out more about that next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
America's biggest bike race returns to Maryland Sunday, September 3rd as 120 of the world's best cyclists race the Maryland Cycling Classic presented by United Healthcare. Come enjoy the free fan zones and festival with interactives, food, and drink beginning at noon. Then see the exciting race conclusion from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Inner Harbor. Come be loud, be proud, and let the world hear you. For more information, go to marylandcyclingclassic.us.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23. All one word, no spaces, 2 N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. I don't know if you guys saw the tweet yesterday, but earlier in the week, in the midst of all the hullabaloo about Michael Orr, I had passed along that Michael Orr was, as of Monday, even when this all was coming out, still scheduled to join us in studio next Monday morning. Well, late yesterday afternoon, got the message that Michael Orr will not be doing that and will not be making any other media appearances on Monday. I don't know how far to read into that. Like, I don't know if, admittedly, based on, I assume a lot of people had said, well, it seems like, the lawsuit might be just trying to get publicity for the book. But I would have assumed that they kind of walked hand in hand. Like, the book might have some stories about the situation, and that's the timing of it, and the fact that, as of Monday, we were still scheduled to have Michael Orr join us in studio next week and over on 105.7 The Fan. I kind of figured, like, well, hey, this is all part of it. What do I read into about his media tour being canceled? I don't know. I think as of right now, he's still scheduled to come to Baltimore to do an appearance. That was part of the reason why this was happening, was because he was scheduled to do an appearance here in Baltimore on Monday night.
Gotcha.
A signing of the book, and so
just kind of made sense.
I don't know if that's still on. I didn't ask because now I kind of, no offense, don't care. Like, got to be realistic about things. If you're not coming in to hang out with us in studio, why do I care about that? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but it's not happening. That's all I can tell you. Again, as of Monday, when everything started to come out, we were still scheduled, but yesterday that changed. Late yesterday afternoon, got the email. It's all off. No media for Monday. And we'll see. I said, well, if at some other point Michael Orr would like to speak to us in studio, over the phone, whatever it might be, by all means, please let us know. But I'm not banking on it. I have not shared a lot of opinions about this because this is not. What the hell am I going to say, right? I don't know. I have no idea.
Those Tuies.
This is what it's like. The people. Okay, so yesterday on Twitter, I don't know. And again, I do know that when I was younger, I did dumb things. Like, I understand that.
No, you
so
didn't.
like,
Did you?
I believe it or not.
Really?
When I'm older, I still do some dumb things, but there are certain things. So, Marlon Humphrey, we know nothing about the injury, right? Like, we don't know he had a foot surgery. That's what we know. And I see people on Twitter. My guess is he'll be back blank.
Yeah.
I'm like,
week 10.
We just saying anything?
Well,
and I know that's the answer.
point.
The answer is that's what Twitter is just say anything. Like, why do you think that has any value at all? My guess is, and it who the F knows? I am concerned. I hope that Marlon Humphrey is back before week 1. That'd be great. I'm concerned about the possibility of him not being back by week 1 or week 2 or whatever it would be. But I have my guess. We're just going to guess what the weather's going to be on Christmas? You just want to keep...
I bet it'll be cold.
God. Thank you. Although I feel like it's been mild recently.
Well, let's see.
The last couple years.
Last Christmas was when it was like 8 degrees, wasn't it? Or maybe did it warm up?
No, last Christmas there was definitely in the middle of a terrible cold front.
Yes.
But I feel like the other Christmases have been mild recently.
It's been a while since we had a white Christmas.
Oh, I don't remember the last time there was snow on Christmas around here. I mean, I don't remember that at all. Not that I never want there to be. I never want there to be snow ever. Not on Christmas, not on Thanksgiving, not on New Year's. Shut the F up, you child. We have jobs. People have things to do. People die when it snows. There is nothing when you're 3. Rooting for snow makes sense.
When you're 6, even.
No, when you're an adult, I'll give you that. When you're an adult, there is zero reason to ever root for snow, unless I guess you run a ski resort, in which case I'll give you a pass for that. I will say that
it's bad season.
And if your business if you operate a snowplow, I will give you. You're allowed to root for snow. The rest of us, you're a child. Stop doing that. But yeah, man, I don't know what to tell you. Michael Orr not going to be part of the show on Monday. It's what it is. And then the Wander Franco thing, I'm trying to remember the name of the reporter is
Hector Gomez.
Hector Gomez, who is a plugged-in Latin baseball reporter, and I apologize for not knowing more of the details. But Hector Gomez this morning reports that as he's poked around, is starting to believe that like Wander Franco might never play Major League Baseball again. That there may be validity to these claims.
And yeah, I mean, man.
A person very close to the investigations into the case of Wander Franco, quote, "It will be very unlikely that Wander Franco will play in MLB again, judging by the results of the investigations that are currently being carried out, which directly commit him to the accusations against him." I don't know a ton. He is in the Latin baseball community. Hector Gomez is involved. It's awful, obviously. Like, the possibility of this being true is just unfathomable. And remembering there's a victim involved. And obviously, you separate that, and that's the part that matters. There's no getting around that from a baseball standpoint, that this was a young superstar in baseball that possibly might never play again. That's wild. It's wild. Appropriate if this is true, I would like to hope that no team would ever employ Wander Franco, that would recognize the overwhelming seriousness of this and not just try to say, yeah, but he's really good at baseball. I'd like to hope that's the case.
Yeah, so credit to the Rays, I guess, taking the correct steps.
Again, taking that step made you say, like, this can't just be a wild internet rumor, right? Like, there has to be something that is, they made a phone call or something like that. They were like, yeah, we're a little bit worried that this might be true. We're a little bit worried that there might be something to this. And just not okay. Just not okay. And there's no, as we said, there's no ambiguity. Like, there's ambiguity in some topics. A 14-year-old, there's no ambiguity about whether or not that person is capable of making adult decisions. We know the answer. A 14-year-old is not. No ambiguity whatsoever on this. I feel like there was something else that I wanted to get to today, and I don't remember what it was though. So let's just go ahead and.
Ronnie Stanley's back at practice.
There was no real concern that Ronnie Stanley was going to miss time. So good. Bully for
Jalen Armour Davis back at practice.
Oh, thank God! Season
Saved.
back on. Super Bowl baby, everything's back on. Anything else that you wanted to share?
No.
Any other?
Rockyson's still not at practice.
Chick-fil-A is introducing a pimento cheese sandwich.
Really?
That's pretty big news.
That is big news.
Chick-fil-A is introducing
You really don't want to get the fighting words, huh?
Well, no offense, it's more important.
The Chick-fil-A one.
This one is. We can debate the other Jalen Armour Davis.
No,
but the Chick-fil-A thing is. The honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich will debut on August. It sounds great, except for, we have to be honest about this, pimento cheese in general, overrated. It's fine and better in this circumstance. Like, the thing they do at the Masters where, like, you get a sandwich and it's just this pimento cheese spread, like, no. Now, as a condiment to go along with your sandwich, the difficult part about this with Chick-fil-A is that the Chick-fil-A sandwich is perfect. And altering it in any way makes you, like, when you put Chick-fil-A sauce on your Chick-fil-A sandwich, I want to smack it out of your dirty hands and then smack you again in the mouth and say you should never be allowed inside this business. Now, they are doing it for you in this instance.
What's the point of Chick-fil-A sauce then?
For your nuggets. That's what it goes on. It goes on your nuggets. They have already prepared for you. They have handed you in a little bag the perfect sandwich. And if you alter it in any form or fashion, if I see you take a pickle off of it, I want you on a no-fly list. I want you to not be out of the country at that point. You put some sauce on it. I got to be honest with you. I'm not a big death penalty guy, but sometimes it's deserved.
All right.
That is what they have handed you the nectar of the gods.
I agree.
Don't touch it. Don't do anything. You are spitting in the face of God. What was the scene from Superbad where she's like, I hear she's having a breast reduction surgery. And he's like it's like spitting in the face of God. Get that for the soundboard. All right? I want that in the soundboard because putting sauce on a Chick-fil-A sandwich is like spitting in the face of God. Definitively. Now, they are doing it. I'm willing to listen. And it's Chick-fil-A that we're talking about. So in general, you give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
In general. I still, pimento cheese, like it's that thing that pimento cheese should be a thing. It should be good. Like every cheese dip is delicious. And yet,
I mean,
it's just kind of like every time you have it, you're like, I don't need any more of this. It's a Southern thing. It's
so Chick-fil-A. I mean, if
it's
anyone's
part
gonna
of
do it right,
it's part of the culture it's almost like it doesn't really matter if it's good or bad. It's part of how we live. It's the way that things work around here. Like that, we're gonna do it. But I'm nervous about it. I'm nervous about it. Of course, on August 28th, I will make sure I get one.
Right.
I will do my due diligence. I am a man who's willing to make sacrifice. I am a man who will fight for your right. I will make those sacrifices for you. And I will enjoy one of these things, but I'm going to be honest about it. I'm not just going to cover because it's Chick-fil-A, because the truth is, I, again, will probably say, just get a Chick-fil-A sandwich. It's literally the greatest sandwich ever made. Don't worry about anything else. I tried the Snyder's Nashville Hot last night, pretzel pieces.
I saw.
Oh, my God, they're so good.
Really?
They're so
worth it.
Griffin, I might have had an entire bag, and I don't eat things like
are
that
there,
anymore.
Are there any left? I guess
At my house.
Oh, okay.
If you think that any of them are coming here, you would be wrong. Because I can never buy another bag. Like I can't eat food like that. Like I can't do that to myself. This will be the only bag I will ever be able to have. I'm gonna finish it.
Okay, all right, fine. I mean, I know where you live now, so.
Oh, you think you're just gonna stop by?
Yeah.
Ask the kid. Hey,
guys.
hey, kids. Did Dad leave any pretzel pieces lying around? All right, hit the music. Do the thing. Way to be prepared.
Oh, of course.
Way to be prepared. Nailed it. Nailed it.
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
Hey, Fighting Words this week will be brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. You want to tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
Yeah, I want to tell everyone coming up on your last chance for the $100,000 Football Fanatics contest. So attention, all Live Casino and Hotel Maryland Rewards members. Get ready for an incredible opportunity to win big this month, this August, between now and August 19th. That's Saturday, so time's running out. You could be one of the lucky winners to walk away with some awesome prizes. 40 winners will get the chance to play our thrilling $100,000 football game board with prizes including sports and social food vouchers, free play, and one lucky winner will walk away with the ultimate football fan experience, valued at over $10,000. Visit maryland.livecasinohotel.com/promotions for details. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. I know the big fight Saturday night. Is there anything that's
UFC
the,
tonight too? Yes,
correct.
that is the big.
Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley.
Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley. It is. I'm excited for it. It's the bantamweight title. I think it's probably probably the second best division. I think like depth wise, you got lightweight, which is always going to be one of the best in UFC. And really all of MMA, and then bantamweight at 135 is probably the second best, always probably the second deepest as well. It'll be exciting. Aljamain Sterling's kind of like, for some reason, I don't know, everyone just kind of doesn't like love him that much in kind of the MMA and UFC community. I mean, he'll be going for his 4th straight title defense. I mean, there's no doubt that like he's one of the best bantamweights in the world. It's just that all of his wins have been kind of, I guess, maybe not overly convincing. His last fight was a split decision against Henry Cejudo. That was in Newark. That was the one that.
All right, you went up for it.
I went up for that one. It was a great fight. It was just that it was a split decision. It felt like I felt like Cejudo kind of controlled the mat exchanges a little bit more, and it really could have gone either way. And that was kind of the weird thing, is just that it shows kind of how disliked, I guess, he kind of is that they were in Newark. Aljamain Sterling's from Long Island, New York, and everybody was on Cejudo's side. Aljo was getting booed.
I don't want to say the thing out loud.
I
mean, I don't want to. And it's like it's a difficult conversation to have, because somebody would point out like, well, Daniel Cormier has largely been like, it's to just say racism
right
is oversimplifying it, right? But let's be honest, we know what this fan base is.
Yeah.
And not all of it. I want to make that abundantly clear. Not all of it. But there's a good chunk of it that's pretty toxic.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is not the first time that, like, for whatever reason, a black fighter has just not connected with this audience.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's a fair point. And just looking at it, his first title win was when he got kneed by Peter Yan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The illegal knee, and so he technically won because Yan got disqualified. They ran it back, and then Aljo did win. It was another really close fight. It was a split decision, but Aljo beat Yan in the rematch, and then in his first title defense. He beat TJ Dillashaw. He knocked him out, but it was like TJ. That was a weird fight too, because Dillashaw had a injury that he hid from his own camp because he just wanted to fight and get paid, which was kind of a little kind of a scummy move, just because he went in and he got his ass kicked, and he kind of knew that was going to happen.
I do understand. I don't know if you've heard, the UFC ain't great about
that's,
paying people. Like, I do kind of understand prioritizing a paycheck.
And then on the other side, a lot of people think Sean O'Malley maybe is a little undeserving of his title shot.
That was the question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
It's funny because I hadn't thought about the other side of it, and it's a fair point to make about Aljamain Sterling. But on the other side, it's like, is Sean O'Malley really deserving as a fighter of this, or is it just he's marketable, he has fun hair, his name's O'Malley, and so in Boston,
right?
I
think it's the latter helps a lot more. Helps a lot. His win was over Peter Yan last October. That was a split decision as well, which was another one where I had Yan winning that fight. Sean just didn't look really great on the ground, which is where Aljo really excels at. So. Stylistically, it doesn't really match up that well for Sean O'Malley, but he has been able to knock out guys. That's the problem, is that he just hasn't really knocked out one of these upper echelon guys in the bantamweight.
Did you say echelon?
Echelon?
Kind of like echelon. We might stick with echelon. Echelon, upper echelon.
Upper echelon guys.
I like echelon. To stop.
Echelon.
It's like former Orioles pitcher Thomas Echelman.
Echelman?
That's a hell of a pool, right?
Yeah,
that's
Tom
a hell of a pool.
What teams would he work for?
Oakland, I want to say.
Okay.
I don't. Hang on a second. Thomas Echelman. I
That's
don't know that I can name.
Solid pool.
I don't know if I can name another. I don't know why I think Oakland. By the way, is Spencer Watkins with the Athletics now? I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
I saw that. That was pretty. Thomas Echelman never pitched for another major league team.
It's hard. Yeah. So maybe. Yeah, I guess he would never
signed a minor league deal with the Padres and had been in the Astros and Phillies systems, but never played for another major league team.
That being said,
he's working with the Padres now, so screw him.
Eshelman?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In a pitching coach
giving
role
away all the
of some
secrets.
sort.
It sounds like.
Right? It's the reason why the Orioles lost.
Yeah. So that being said, Sean should have known. The UFC kind of made it clear that his next fight after the Yan fight would be a title shot, and if it was going to be a title shot, then it was probably going to be Cejudo or Aljamain Sterling. So, in theory, the last year, Sean O'Malley should have been training jiu-jitsu and wrestling, but I don't know if that's enough time for him to really. He was not having any success.
He will definitely have the crowd on his side, though.
That is true.
So
that is true, and he is a guy that I think can definitely feed off of that as well. So we haven't seen the power translate against these top level guys in the bantamweight division yet. But there's he's a very tall, lengthy guy. He should be able to keep Aljo at in his range as long as he can stop a takedown or two. He's got a chance. But Aljo's a -250 favorite. I see it being closer than the odds.
Okay, but you can't. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna.
Are you willing to put money on O'Malley?
No.
Okay, so that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Aljo because of how easily.
Well, how can you make some money?
Well, earlier on the card.
Okay. Remember, did you do this from Superbook.com?
Of course I did.
Better have.
Yeah. The co-main event is another title fight. The women's strawweight, Weili Zhang. She has not lost to anyone unless their name is Rose Namajunas. Fortunately, she is not fighting Rose Namajunas. She's fighting Amanda Lemos for the strawweight title. And so I like Zhang's chances there. She's about -300, -320. So I like her on most of my parlays that I'll be playing Saturday nights. Another fun one, Damon Blackshear. He got a twister submission last Saturday. Which was only the third in UFC history.
Well, I don't even know what that is.
That is, if you can probably look at it. So, he with your legs, you wrap your legs around the bottom half of their body, and then you have like their arms or their head with your arms, and you're just kind of literally corking their spine. And it's called a twister submission.
Jesus Christ.
And yeah, it is really, really painful. So he got the third one in the UFC ever. And he looked really good, but now he's jumping in short notice to fight.
What? Now, how is that okay?
Well, he didn't really. I mean, it was a first round. He got the submission in the first round. He didn't take much damage, really any. It's a little different than boxing, where you do get hit.
Yeah, I don't think that it should be okay to fight back-to-back Saturdays. We can say whatever you want to say. I don't think that should be an option.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, he's fighting Mario Bautista, who is a really talented finisher. On short notice, I don't like Blackshear's chances, but it should be an entertaining fight as long as it lasts. Chito Vera and Pedro Munoz will be opening the pay-per-view opener. I like that. I like that fight a lot. It should be a good one. Pedro Munoz he's never been finished, and Chito Vera is another one of those really exciting bantamweights. Just a really talented striker, really talented everywhere. I like Chito Vera there as well. There's a Ultimate Fighter final as well on this card. The Ultimate Fighter, I mean, it's just.
I gotta be honest with you, this Twister thing doesn't look as cool as it's described.
Are you looking at Blackshear? If you look up the Korean Zombies, his is like nasty.
This just looks. I mean, like I get it, like they're all wrapped up like a pretzel type of deal, but like
well,
it just
like your hips are like this way. And they're literally grabbing.
I just like when I hear Twister submission, like I'm thinking it's gonna be I almost like feels like professional wrestling, right? And then I actually see it, and I'm like, oh right, it's just.
It takes because it takes a minute to you gotta like the way that Blackshear got it was the guy he had his back, and then the guy tried to throw a back elbow, and he missed, and then Blackshear just kind of caught his arm while it was behind his head.
Okay.
And then he just kind of kept pushing his chest around and around and around
until
he was like, oh my god, and had to tap. Anyway, the Ultimate Fighter needs to end. I mean, no one really watches it anymore. It doesn't have the luster that it really wants.
Well, it was supposed to lead to a fight.
Yeah, it was supposed to lead to a fight. I mean, you have Conor McGregor on it, the most polarizing star in the sports, and no one is watching. It's just not entertaining at all. I tried to watch the last two episodes, and once they get to the actual fights, which these were the semifinals in the last two episodes, and it's just not even, you can't even watch it because they don't do commentary, which I kind of get the point where it's it's like you're kind of in the corner with the guys, it's just the sounds of the octagon and the coaches in the corner, but it's 5 straight minutes of just no commentary, and it just doesn't work. It does not work. It's kind of a good idea. In theory, it sounds like it should be a good idea, but it just doesn't work. So there's a tough final, but no one really cares.
By the way, did I not know that Chris Weidman was fighting again?
Chris Weidman he is fighting this. This first
time
seems since
didn't he just lose 1,000 fights?
He has not been doing great. His fight won't. I mean, it's two guys that are kind of. Brad Tavares is who he's fighting.
Is that supposed to mean something to me?
No, not really, because he's also not been great either. I mean, I'll root for Chris Weidman. He's an underdog in his fights.
Chris Weidman was cool. I ended up spending some time with him in
really?
New York years ago. When he was after he had beaten Anderson Silva, and he looked like he was going to be the next superstar.
He was great for a good stretch there, and then
for a year.
Was that?
I don't know. It was. I don't know. Maybe 2 years. I don't know.
Until he got knocked out by Luke Rockhold.
And was never the same.
No. Unfortunately, no. This will be his first fight since the Uriah Hall fight, which was 2.5 years ago, when he kicked Uriah Hall and then his leg snapped.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
I do remember that.
It's a little nervous going into the Weidman fight, just because, I mean, it's been 2.5 years, so you assume, I guess, his leg should be healthy, but, even so, it's been 2.5 years. Anyone in this sport that's not been fighting for 2.5 years, you don't really have a lot of hope for them. But yeah, Chris Weidman, I think he's the featured prelim, so he'll be right before the pay-per-view. So everyone should get that one for free. And then to my bets, I like Gerald Meerschaert. He's one of my favorite fighters. The odds aren't, at least as of last night, they weren't up yet. But once they go up, take him by round 2 or round 3 submission. This is just how all his fights go. You usually get some value around plus 2,000, plus 2,500.
I'm taking which one?
Gerald Meerschaert.
Okay.
GM3 is what they call him, and these are just really great value picks. He does the same thing in all of his fights. He just doesn't look good on the feet. He gets pieced up a little bit in the first round, but he seems to almost always survive. And then once he gets it into the second or third round, the fight just ends up on the ground, and that is where he excels, and he just finds a way to choke you out or do make you tap in some way. And I really enjoy watching his fights just because he always comes in as an underdog, and then he looks terrible in the first round, and you're just like, come on, guy, and then he finds a way to win. His last 7 wins have all been in the same fashion, where he does not look good for the first half of the fight, and then finds a way to get to the ground and pulls out a submission.
Okay.
So Gerald Meerschaerts. Gregory Rodriguez is a fun one. His nickname is RoboCop because he looks like RoboCop. He's a big favorite. But if you take him by knockout, I think he gets around plus 140, plus 145 is what I was seeing. So Gregory Rodriguez. It's Rodriguez because Brazilian.
All right. Just
plus
get
140 by knockout. I like him there.
Okay.
And then my parlay will be Chito Vera, who I mentioned, in Weili Zhang. Parlay around, I forget what they were individually, but once you parlay them together, it's about even money, around minus 110 for Chito Vera and Weili Zhang. You could add Ian Gary as well, who's on the main card. He's an Irishman who sounds like Conor McGregor, but he's a little bit more. He's a little cooler because he's not. He's like a good person.
What a novel concept.
He's a massive favorite as well. If you add him, you can get to plus 125.
Probably isn't as popular then.
I mean, in Boston, I'm pretty he'll have.
Boston
he'll
for
have,
sure.
He'll
right?
have some people behind him. So yeah, that's UFC 292. That's my preview.
Nothing much
Saturday.
in the world of boxing this weekend. There's a fight on DAZN that I don't know.
Yeah,
Tommy Frank is involved. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, there's not. Anthony Joshua did knock out Robert Helenius last week.
I mean,
so
should have probably been the case,
right,
given the
it was a really slow,
unjustifiable fight.
He finally caught him cold in the 7th round. But yeah, so it should set up a Deontay Wilder fight next for Anthony Joshua. If not, people are rumoring maybe a title fight against Tyson Fury after he fights Ngannou. Or he could fight the winner of the Joe Joyce Zile Zong fight.
Oh.
The Chinese boxer.
I don't know. I can't pretend that I know anything about that, but sure.
Well, they fight in September, so he could get the winner of that.
All
If
right.
a Fury or Wilder fight does not articulate.
All right, very good.
PFL
Does
playoffs.
not develop.
Articulate there.
I'm really sure where that comes from.
PFL playoffs tomorrow night as well.
'Kay.
So if you're waiting for the Orioles game to start, 9:40 start time.
We're not going to spend any time
throw
on the
ESPN.
PFL playoffs.
Last thing I wanted, the card last week, dumb judging cost me $70. I hit the first 5 legs of my parlay. The final leg, just needed Hakeem Dawodu.
So you got it wrong,
Cub
is what you're saying.
No, I did not get it wrong.
No, it sounds like what you're saying is you got it wrong.
Because I got some sound here for you.
Do you?
Yeah. Cub
Uh-huh.
Swanson,
No,
he didn't even think he won the fight.
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah. So let's
Go
ask
ahead.
him. Let's ask him how he thinks the fight went.
No, I felt like I was in the moment. I was having fun, which was my plan, and but yeah, I thought I took more shots, but I always beat myself up, so I'd have to watch it again.
Right, he had to watch it again and find out that he won.
No, he didn't.
Now, here's my question: did he win the fight?
Did
he win the fight?
According to the 3 people.
Did he win the fight?
According to the only 3 people whose
did
opinion matter.
He win the fight?
I don't think so.
Did he win the fight?
I don't think so.
Who's the president of the United States? Who won the election?
Joe Biden won the election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he win the fight?
If you look at
he win the fight?
His record shows
that
he has one more win
he win
since last week.
Come back in. We'll get a tidbit and 2 to wrap it up. It's Glenn Clark Radio. I'm good at this. You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back. And now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas. And now you can use my promo code, GlennClark23, to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23. All one word, no spaces, 2 N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Baysox. It's the return of Grateful Dead Night on Friday the 18th. A special t-shirt package is available. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday the 19th with our Baysoverfest. Get some beer specials while you enjoy the game. And get here early on Sunday for a pregame Meet the Team autograph session. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at Baysox.com. The Bowie Baysox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
I'm Michael Giangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the Eastern Shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
America's biggest bike race returns to Maryland Sunday, September 3rd as 120 of the world's best cyclists race the Maryland Cycling Classic presented by United Healthcare. Come enjoy the free fan zones and festival with interactives, food, and drink beginning at noon. Then see the exciting race conclusion from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Inner Harbor. Come be loud, be proud, and let the world hear you. For more information, go to marylandcyclingclassic.us.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
All right, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Another one from Jay Kuda. He pointed out yesterday that the Cleveland Guardians, entering last night, had 5 home runs in the month of August. There were 3 players with more home runs by themselves than the entire Guardians
Well,
team.
how about that?
You want to try to guess who they are?
5 more home runs in the month of August.
3 players.
3 players with 5 or more home runs in the month of August. I mean, it's not anybody in Baltimore. I know that much.
No.
How about Ronald Acuna?
Not Acuna.
It feels like the Rays. Is it a Brave?
Yes, there is a Brave.
Olsen.
Matt Olson has 7 home runs in the month of August. Well, the Guardians as a team, they hit one last night, so they now have 6. But Olsen still does have more than the entire team.
I'm not that surprised by that. Who else has hit home runs? Is it a Dodger?
Not a Dodger. Former Dodger.
Seager?
Corey Seager. He has been, when he's been healthy, he has been really good this season. He has 7 as well.
So a good baseball player.
Yeah.
And is it a... Who else has been good?
Yeah, a little surprising this one.
Little surprising this one. I don't don't know.
He's a NL East player.
NL East player. And not a Brave. We
Not
already
a Brave,
handled that.
Yeah, not a Brave.
Probably not a Met.
Definitely not a Met.
The Nationals have been hot.
DJ,
Is it?
DJ Stewart hit 2 home runs yesterday.
How about that? The Nationals have been hot. Is it a National?
Not a National.
It's Philly.
It is a Philly.
And it's not Bryce Harper.
Not Bryce Harper.
Castellanos?
Nick Castellanos.
It's going to be a deep fly ball to deep drive to left field. Yeah, all right. Okay.
And then also last week, Pete Alonso, sticking with the NL East team, I guess. Pete Alonso hit his 179th home run of his career, and he passed Ryan Howard for the 4th most home runs in a player's first 5 seasons in MLB history.
Okay.
Can you definitely name the 3 ahead of Pete Alonso in their first 5 seasons? And then I guess we can round out the top. Let's round out the top 8.
Okay.
Most home runs in their first 5 seasons.
Most home runs in the first 5 seasons. Let's go Bryce Harper.
Not Bryce Harper.
Let's go Mike Trout.
Not Mike Trout.
Let's go.
These guys are way down the list.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Let's go Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols is second on this list. He had 201 home runs in his first 5 seasons.
Let's go. Man, I don't know. How about Shohei Ohtani?
Not Shohei Ohtani. Not yet. Let me see. How many seasons has he had now?
It feels like it's been. Has it not been 5? It might. Maybe it hasn't been 5. Maybe that's the case. Man, I don't know why I'm struggling so much with this one. How about?
There's some old guys on here.
Oh, so should I just be naming old timey baseball players?
Yeah.
Mel Ott,
not
Duke
Mel Ott.
Snyder,
Not Duke
Rocky
Snyder.
Calavito,
Not Rocky
Eddie
Calavito.
Matthews.
Eddie Matthews, yes.
Hey!
Eddie Matthews is 3rd on this list. Pete Alonso is sitting at 182 as we speak. He is 8 behind Eddie Matthews.
I don't know why I always like leading off with Mel Ott. I think it's just 'cause it's just 3 letters in each name. It's a fun name to lead off with. Rocky Calavito, did I say that one?
You did, and he's not on the list.
Ralph Kiner.
Ralph Kiner is number 1.
Hell yeah.
On
Ralph
this
Kiner
list.
is number 1 on this
215.
Any more old-timey baseball names?
So last year would have been Ohtani's no. No.
Okay.
Not that old.
Not that old.
Yeah.
But like
50s, 60s.
Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson is on this list. He rounds out the top 8. 165.
Need 3 more?
2 more, because I gave you Ryan Howard.
Mickey Mantle.
Close, not Mickey Mantle.
Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio is indeed on this list. Just 3 home runs ahead of Frank
Funny
Robinson.
because you don't think about Joe DiMaggio as a home run hitter as much as just a hitter.
Right. Last one.
There's one more.
There's one more.
And is it modern or is it?
It's modern, yeah. No longer active, but he is a modern player.
No longer active, but modern. No longer active, but modern. Prince Fielder.
Not Prince Fielder. Like where your head's at. He is. He's in the teens. Prince Fielder, 160 in his first.
No
5 seasons.
longer active, but modern. No longer. God, I really thought that Prince Fielder was the perfect. No longer active, but modern.
Correct position.
A first baseman. No longer active, but modern. I mean, David Ortiz wasn't a first baseman. He was a DH.
Not David Ortiz.
And it's not Ryan Howard because that's how this whole thing was set up. No longer active, but modern.
He is.
Man.
Anything? He is not liked by Orioles fans.
Oh, Mark Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira.
All right, very good.
Just a couple behind Ryan Howard. And
very
then
good.
Mark Reynolds. He was 2 home runs behind Prince Fielder.
Oh, how about that?
Like about top 15 on
How
this
about
list.
that?
Yeah.
Very good. All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. It's brought to you by Superbook. Again, use the code GlennClark23, and you will get a first bet match up to $250, win or lose. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. The code GlennClark23. Orioles are off tonight, so boy, I wish I had better news for you. It's bad.
There's football tonight, right?
Mets-Cardinals at 7 on Fox. Masson's got Red Sox Nationals at 4. It's also on MLB Network. Mariners Royals, 2 o'clock locally. It's also on ESPN+. Brewers Dodgers at 10 on MLB Network. ESPN's got Little League World Series action. Hooray. Amazon Prime, New York Liberty, Vegas Aces at 10. Round 1 of the BMW Championship and the PGA Playoffs today at 2 o'clock. Tennis Channel, the Cincinnati. God, Francis has had a terrible. God, man. Follows up a loss to Milos Raonic with a loss to Stan Wawrinka. Like it's 2016.
Oh.
Jesus. What is going on?
He's saving it for.
Wawrinka looked good. I don't want to take anything away from Wawrinka. He looked like Stan Wawrinka last night, which was wild. But
Francis, he's saving it for New York, right?
I don't feel good. Do not feel good about where he's at going into New York. Those are some bad losses, not losses that a top 10 player should be taking. Like, that's brutal. Smashing rackets last night in Cincinnati. It was rough.
Coco won,
rough.
though.
That's good. Novak plays tonight. He plays Monfils tonight, I think. It should be fun. Yes, if you like bad things, NFL Network tonight, Browns-Eagles at 7:30. Access TV, Impact Wrestling at 8. It's bad. It's bad.
DTR,
bad night.
Browns.
Bad. Anything non-sports-wise?
Not really. Tracy Morgan's got a comedy special on Max.
Okay.
Taking it too far, his comedy special. Killing It season 2 is out on Peacock.
What's Killing It?
It's a sitcom with Craig Robinson. It actually looks kind of funny.
That sounds like something that I would enjoy.
Yeah,
I enjoy Craig Robinson.
He's like in Florida, and he makes a deal with swamp family, and then they're like, I don't know, hilarity ensues.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
That is it for your Thursday.
Rough night.
It is.
Rough
It
night.
is.
All right, thanks today to Jonathan Mayo. Thanks also to Keagan Gillies. Thanks to Brian Newberry. And thanks to Chuck Pagano. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Stan will be in tomorrow.
He will.
Bo Smokel will join us.
Yes, he will.
Anything else?
We'll go to Delmarva.
Okay.
Matthew Etzel.
Sure.
Draft pick out of Southern Miss.
Randy's son.
No. It's actually spelled differently.
Oh, okay.
Stuff and things.
Oh, no. Okay. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Visit Baltimore, Live Casino and Hotel, Glory Days Grill, Dorchester County, the Bowie Baysox, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook, Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, Easy Pass MD, Washington County, the Maryland Cycling Classic, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday night. Go Birds. No, they don't play tonight. Go Nobody. Duke sucks.